Hey there, and welcome back to the Ariza Inspire Podcast, the show where we talk all things mental health, self-awareness, and becoming the emotionally solid version of yourself you actually like hanging out with. I'm your host, Samantha, a licensed professional counselor, and just as a reminder, this isn't therapy, but a way to get some of those questions answered. So today, we're diving into something that can feel both exciting as well as nerve-wracking. Your first therapy session. Yep, that one you've been thinking about for weeks or months, or let's be honest, probably years. There's no shame, I totally get it. It can be intimidating. Getting started with therapy is a big step, and I want to walk you through it today. How to prepare, what to expect, and how to make the most of that first convo with your new therapist. Whether you've already booked your first session or you've been thinking about it, I'm here for you, don't worry. Even if you're low-key just stalking therapy content to see if it's your thing, I see you. I see you. Let's make it feel a little less mysterious and get some of those questions answered. First things first, let's normalize those nerves because, let's say it, it's completely normal to feel nervous before your first therapy session. Because you might be wondering, what do I say? Will they judge me? What if I cry? Or what if I don't cry? Is this going to be weird? Totally valid questions and totally understandable. Because therapy can feel super vulnerable. You're meeting someone new and talking about stuff that maybe you've never said out loud. So give yourself some compassion here. Feeling nervous doesn't mean you're not ready. It just means you're human. And new things are freaking scary. So what can you expect during your first session? Now let's get into the actual session. What happens when you log into that virtual link or walk into that cozy little office with those tissues and salt lamp? Even this can be intimidating because let's be real, technology is not always on our side, especially if this is your first time. Give yourself a few extra minutes to log in and make sure your tech is working. This can make an uncomfortable situation 10 times worse if you feel like you're scrambling to log in at the exact moment it starts. Depending on what your therapist uses for the session, you might have to grant access to your microphone and camera, which will take an extra minute, so give yourself the time you need. And take that extra breath before you click Start Video. The first session is often what therapists call an intake session, which is basically a getting to know you conversation. Your therapist might ask questions like, what brings you to therapy right now? Have you done therapy before? What was that like for you? What are you hoping to get out of therapy? Are there any specific issues you're struggling with, like anxiety, relationships, burnout, grief, or whatever else you might want to tell them? What's your support system like? Friends? Family? They may also go over some other things like basic background info, your job, living situation, any health stuff. Safety questions, like asking about self-harm or suicidal thoughts. And I'll stop here for a second because I know it can be scary to admit some of these things to your counselor, especially in the first session. And no, just because you admit to some of these things does not mean that you're going to end on a grippy sock vacation. Because I've seen so many TikToks and reels about what happens when you're super honest with your therapist. I think you have to take the second and really evaluate how deep you want to go with this question, but never be afraid to be honest. At the end of the day, the therapist just wants to make sure you're okay. And they don't want you to end up hurting yourself. So if there is a history of self-harm and you feel comfortable disclosing it in the first session, please do, because your therapist wants to help you be able to overcome this situation. And if you are having suicidal thoughts, it helps your therapist be able to provide you the tools you need in order to help you overcome those too. Your therapist will also go over how sessions will work, like how often you'll meet, what their cancellation policy is, and whether they're going to take notes. And in this new day and age, They might go over the fact that they use AI to take their notes. And if you have questions about how AI works in with therapy notes, you can also let me know if you want to hear more about that. At the end of the day, you do not have to have perfect answers to any of this. Seriously. You can say, I'm not sure yet, or I just don't know how I'm feeling. I might be feeling a little off and want to understand a little bit more first. And that's enough. Your therapist has questions to ask in case you don't know what to say, so don't feel pressured to keep the conversation going. This first session is about connection, not performance. So you might be asking yourself, how do I prepare without over-prepping? Here are a few low-pressure ways to prepare for your first session. Number 1, think about what brought you here. What made you decide it was time to talk to someone? Was there a moment that pushed you over the edge, like a breakup, panic attack, or burnout at work? Or has it been more of a slow buildup, like you're just tired of feeling meh all the time? You don't need a script. Just know your why, even if it's a messy one, and even if it's more than one. Number 2, make a note of anything you want to bring up. This can be super casual. Think notes in your phone or a few words scribbled in your journal or on a Post-it note. Some people even bring a list, but that's totally allowed. Ideas of what you can bring up in session. Recent challenges or emotional spikes. Ongoing stressors like work, parenting, relationships. Things you've tried that haven't helped. Any goals, even if they're just vague, like, I want to feel more in control, or I want to stop spiraling all the time. Number 3, think about how you want therapy to feel. And this one's super underrated coming into the first session, just because as much as your therapist is asking you questions and trying to understand you, you are doing a total vibe check on your therapist. And you're trying to figure out, how do you want this to feel every week? Do you want someone to be warm and gentle? Or do you need someone to be more direct? Are you open to homework? Because let's be real, who has time to complete things outside of that 1 hour a week? Do you want a space to vent? Or do you need some structure in your session? It's okay to share your preferences with that therapist. And it's okay to see if that's going to work for both of you. Because at the end of the day, you want your therapist to work with you, not against you. And of course, you can ask your therapist questions. Yes, you are allowed to ask questions too. Therapy is a two-way street. You might have already asked these questions in a consultation call or email, but even if you didn't, you can now. There doesn't have to be a right time per se in order to ask your therapist anything. Here are some great ones to keep in your back pocket. What's your approach or style as a therapist? Have you worked with people who are dealing with, insert your struggle, anxiety, trauma, parenting, etc.? How do you typically structure sessions? What happens if I don't know what to talk about? What if I'm not sure this is the right fit? Again, asking questions helps you feel more in control and helps you access whether this is someone you want to keep working with. And yes, it's totally okay to switch therapists if something feels off. And no, that doesn't make you difficult. It makes you discerning and willing to do what is right for you. So let's let go of the pressure to start strong. Because here's a secret. You don't have to tell your whole life story in that first session. You will have more than enough time to discuss all the details of who you are over the course of your therapy journey. You can start small. You can ramble. You can cry. You can laugh. You can say, hey, I don't know what I am doing here. And your therapist will likely smile and say, that's okay. We'll figure it out together. This is your space. There is no perfect way to, quote unquote, do therapy. So don't worry about it. Also, hot tip, if you feel awkward, you can just say that. You can literally say, hey, I feel awkward talking to a stranger about this. Naming that awkwardness helps ease the awkwardness. And your therapist has heard it all before. I promise. And spoiler alert, it might feel a little awkward too to your therapist. Just because these are conversations we have all the time doesn't mean that there isn't that sense of, what do I do next? Do I ask this question? Remember, therapy is a relationship and we are people too. So don't stress. We are all figuring it out together. So, what happens after the session? What now? When your first session is over, you might feel one of three things. Number 1, relieved. You finally said it out loud. Number 2, exhausted. Emotional hangover is a real thing. Number 3, uncertain. You're not sure how it went. All of these are normal. Give yourself space to reflect. You can ask yourself this. Did I feel safe? Did I feel heard? Did I feel any relief? Even a little bit. If yes, that's a good sign. If not, keep note of it. Give it a couple of sessions unless something felt way off. Sometimes it takes time to build that comfort, and we will go into detail about what to do in those situations that feel off in the next episode, especially the red flags to look for. So before we wrap up, let's do a quick recap. It's normal to feel nervous before therapy. That doesn't mean you're not ready. And that first session is about connection, not perfection. You can prepare by jotting down what's been going on and what you hope to get out of it. And again, you're allowed to ask your therapist questions. And most importantly, there's no right or wrong way to start. All right, friends, that's our episode for today. I hope this helped take some of the mystery out of this, and maybe even some of that fear of starting therapy. It's brave, it's powerful, and it's one of the best investments you can make in you. If you're heading into your first session soon, just know I'm rooting for you. And hey, if this episode helped you, pass it along to someone else who might be on the fence about therapy. You never know who might need just a little nudge. Until next time, take care of yourselves, my friends, and I'll see you back here soon.